Hello, everyone, with Veterans for America First, Veterans for Trump organization. Today, I have a fantastic individual from Iowa, Mr. Steve Warren, a CEO, an entrepreneur, a businessman who has taken a different approach to educational reform. As we all know, public school systems are massively liberally focused. They got caught during the pandemic, forcing schools to be shut down, stymieing our children's development. And I have a gentleman here, like I said, Mr. Steve Warren from Iowa, who took a different approach. So today he actually is going to be discussing his alternative approach, which is an apprenticeship. He is offering the youth of today, as well as other adults who want to complete career change, to do not a coding boot camp that he will talk about how much he hates, but more so an apprenticeship that focuses on technology and the bleeding of the American heartland, where all the best jobs are being stolen by, you guessed it, major cities. Steve, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone, my name's Steve Warren. Thanks for having me on the show today. Like Christopher said, I've started a new organization, Code Flip Academy, which is offering a full-term apprenticeship in lieu of college. So again, looking at other alternative forms of education for future employees and people.
Yeah, absolutely. So take me back. So how long has Code Flip Academy been around, and why did you create it? I mean, from what I hear, you had a pretty successful marketing company, pretty successful tech company. So what really shifted you to I guess emphasize around coding and around software development?
Yeah. So I've been a software engineer for about 20 years, doing a lot for a very long time. Worked for global consulting firms and other large organizations, and also some small ones. And throughout my journey in my career, I've really enjoyed mentoring others. And coming on 20 years now, I just want to shift my focus a bit. And I really enjoy mentoring others and teaching others, and so that's my passion. And that's kind of where I want to pivot now and do less more of the hands-on and again just train the future generation, the next guys that are coming up,
So
because we need them. Yeah.
why coding? Why software development? I mean, I mean, I guess I haven't been in high school now for 12 plus years. Back then even wasn't really a big deal. So why is this such a big deal now? I mean, who can honestly use coding, to be honest with you?
A lot of people can. It's definitely different than it was 12 years ago. I mean, today, software runs on toothbrushes, right? And so there is definitely a demand for software engineers. There's actually a shortage in the industry. And again, as new innovations come along, companies, corporations alike are looking for more resources to, make things a reality. So another thing as well is that, no matter if there's a recession or not, what the economy is doing, your life runs on software. Your cell phone runs on software. Communications, the way we communicate these days, all run on software, and they need people to run them and maintain them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and that's so true. Unfortunately, fortunately, however way you look at it, I can confidently say the conservative movement, the Republican, we're behind the times. There's that old joke.
Definitely are. Yes.
There,
Yes.
as you well know, there's an old joke that the Republicans and conservatives and Christians even are about 5, 10 years behind the leftists, just because they've been dominating technology, Silicon Valley, for the better part of 25 plus years, and we've let them. It wasn't
Yeah.
until recently that we're seeing this uptick. Now, so Steve, you were in Chicago for a long time though, and what brought you back to Iowa? That's what I'm really curious about. I mean, if you're a successful guy working in this tech industry, in the heartland of America in Chicago, why would you move from Chicago to middle of nowhere, Iowa?
Yeah, great question. So it's twofold. So the first one is, I had to move to Chicago after graduating from the technical college here for IT because there were no jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did have Gateway Computers out here at the time, but then they had moved to San Diego, I believe.
Oh,
And so there weren't a lot of tech jobs around here. So I was forced to move and go to a large city.
mm-hmm.
And that's what our instructor, instructed us to do. It's like, okay, now that we taught you, now you need to leave. So even at a young age, when I graduated there, I thought, man, it'd really be great if someday I can come back and bring tech jobs here. So that's what I'm doing, trying to make that a reality, and also not only trying to bring tech jobs here, but provide those resources. So provide the training that's definitely needed. Um, yep.
I find it ironic that you're saying your educator, your professor, your teacher really encouraged you to leave and go to the major cities.
Mhm, mhm.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh, that's I mean, so I mean, and then that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. So I mean, it's why is it that there are no tech jobs outside of, I mean, how do I phrase this? Basically, if you want to be in tech, you have to be on the coasts, and I think that's complete travesty. I mean, I'm trying to think like maybe Texas, Florida, maybe if you're really lucky, Kansas City has tech. But other than that, I don't. I mean, and nobody wants to move to Chicago. Let's be honest; it's massively liberal. The taxes are insane. I mean, I don't blame you for leaving. So, so you're trying to bring to small town Iowa uh, a tech plan really to actually encourage people to actually stay there and let's elaborate on that. Let's focus on that for 2 seconds. One positive thing that the pandemic did do, and I hate calling it that because obvious is, but the pandemic did expose that we can do a lot of jobs remotely. So
It did.
so is
Yeah.
that what's happening with tech and with coding and with software development? Can basically, so I guess my question is, with anything with computers, can you pretty much do all of it remotely?
You can. So there was a great shift in the workforce, obviously to remote workforce uh, during the pandemic. A lot of corporations had to scramble because of the lockdowns and
Mhm.
quarantine, and provide opportunities for uh, employees to get their work done remotely. So the silver lining to that is now there's just a massive opportunity for people to work for large corporations, large tech companies anywhere because they can do it remotely, and they get it, and they're finding out too. Employees are a lot happier because they work remote. They're more productive, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, yeah. As I say, you don't have to get up at 7 a.m. and lug yourself over to the office and listen to your boss all day.
Right. You just
Uh,
listen to them on Zoom now. So
yeah, exactly. Someone, yeah. At least you can mute them. So okay. So you're offering, and help me out here. So I mean, we've all seen the commercials. We've all seen the Facebook headlines. Oh, just join my coding boot camp. 30 days, and we'll make you basically a millionaire. First off, A, why is that BS? And B, how is your program? How's your apprenticeship different?
yeah, I roll my eyes quite a bit when I see those because uh, uh, tech is difficult, right? It's not easy, and their promise of, 12 weeks and you can make six figures, after our program, or, hey, we'll get you into Google or some of the big top tech companies. That's just not going to happen. It takes a lot of preparation. I mean, even to apply for one of those large companies, you need to spend at least 6 months prepping for the interview process. It's very intense and takes many years. So the way that our approach is different is uh, you know, we offer a better approach just by using a flipped classroom model, right? So instead of coming in and sitting down and listening to lectures and then going home and doing the homework, we do it the opposite way, where you go home, you watch the lectures online, read some material, you come in and actually do the homework. And this is kind of where that apprenticeship falls into place because they're here, I'm here with them, I'm seasoned, we got experts here with them and to help them along the way. And then we also take a practical approach, and it's just very hands-on, and that's the best way to learn. And I think it's yeah, it's just the best way to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, let's be honest, the past 2 years has really demonstrated people's lack of faith in politicians more so than usual. The media, healthcare has taken a huge hit on transparency and lack of trust. And now, also education has. And, we're seeing much more like Wells Fargo in particular. There's a big story about a year ago out of Ohio where, they're saying they're encouraging students, don't even go to college right out of high school. Come to us. We'll apprenticeship
Yep.
you for 4 years, and then we'll give
Mhm.
you a salary that's commensurate. And at least this way, you're not going to have any college debt. People always, that's always something that always baffles me. People always say, "Oh, college debt is just outlandish," and I don't know why
Mhm.
it is, but when it comes to student debt, the left always has one answer. And what's ironic is the left's answer for everything is, oh, just have the government pay for it. Well, first off, government doesn't actually own anything. It's the taxpayers who put the bill for everything. Secondarily, it's not that complicated. If you want to, not have high student debt, why doesn't the government intervene and
Yeah.
do something called tuition caps. It's absolutely outlandish that these. I mean, let's think about it, everybody. What is a major university? A major university, all it is a major nonprofit that, for some reason, is completely tax exempt. Largely, they gets private donations, they gets federal money, gets state money. All of their employees are somehow state employees, which doesn't make sense at all. And yet, they're always building. I had a mentor of mine years ago made a comment. He said, even if the economy collapses tomorrow, there's two things that will always be expanding. He said universities and hospitals. And I think that's so true. And
Yeah.
I think a solution going forward, Steve, is what you're doing is offering an apprenticeship to middle Americans because
Mhm.
from what I'm hearing is you're trying to really innovate this model of apprenticeships in, again, small town America, almost
Yep.
and you're almost dis encouraging people from moving from small town America. Now, and I want to hear your thoughts on why that would be. So let's say you have your son gets older,
Mhm.
would you and he wants to do your apprenticeship, would you encourage him to go to Chicago or Kansas City, or would you encourage him to stay home?
Well, first, I'd encourage him just to pray about it and ask the Lord where to go. Um, but honestly, my goal is to keep people local. One of the big challenges I think we have here in Middle America and in smaller towns is that, you get an education and then we have to move to the coast, right? Or we have to move elsewhere, and we don't have people staying and raising their families and being nearby, close to their families. So um, that's what I'm trying to change. Is let's have people here stay in the Midwest, stay in their hometowns, work remote, and provide that infrastructure and support for them.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, and that's something that's so true. I mean, I feel like that's kind of how the liberals want it, is they want all the tech development to be on the coasts and states that they control, because
Yeah.
God forbid that a conservative state actually is a leader in technology. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of difference with Elon Musk. He moved his operations largely to Texas intelligently, and
Right.
now Twitter and all that, which is good. I mean, I like his newfound libertarianism, but no, I do think the future of America is apprenticeships. It's just you're learning hands-on skills. You're learning, some would say soft skills, if you would. Now, and I don't think largely that these major universities are really teaching that anymore. They're not teaching how to handle customers. They're not teaching, how to handle difficult situations with critical thinking. I mean, they're teaching books and theories and concepts and hypotheses with really no hands-on education. I mean, I'll never forget, in my political science classes, I think out of the 15 professors I had, maybe one of them actually ran a campaign, a political campaign, and I'm like, that's sad. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I applaud you for really bringing this model here, back to the heartland, trying to encourage kids to stay if they can. So walk me through Code Flip Academy, and everybody listening, it's codeflipacademy.com. It's a phenomenal apprenticeship where you learn hands-on software development, hands-on coding, and really just how to be a better, more prepared individual for the workforce, which is sorely needed in this country. So, Steve, walk us through like your curriculum. Like, how demanding is it?
It's quite demanding. So it's a 12-month program,
Wow.
and students, will probably average 20 to 30 hours a week on their, it's a mixture of in class and out of class time. But you really have to be dedicated. I joke, it's like drinking from a fire hose because there's a lot to cover. But honestly, at the end of the day, the technical part is really a smaller part of the curriculum and is kind of the easier part. The more difficult part is, like you said, the soft skills. So, how do you interact with customers? How do you interact with employees, with your coworkers, your colleagues? How do you write an email? How do you make a phone call? Conflict resolution, right?
Yeah.
Um, just that's one thing from my experience just seems to be severely lacking from um, college graduates these days. I've
Mm.
interviewed many people over the years, coming straight out of college, and they just don't have those soft skills. They're just missing these days for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of emphasis on the hard skills, the technical part. And
Mm.
this isn't just in IT. I'm sure many other fields. It's just kind of what's happening these days. But that really is the emphasis in our curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's so refreshing to find, a company that's really, emphasizing more just beyond the workload too. You're teaching them how to be individuals, teaching them how to, uh, have faith in the Lord, obviously, but and just again be correct, right members of society that aren't, I need to go to college for 4 or 5, probably 6 years, be a two-time senior, and then hopefully find some government job or some, it's the entitlement is just ridiculous. I mean, and you better than most probably understand how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur. I mean, walking away from a great job in Chicago and then starting again and then being even more successful. Not initially, but eventually. And
Yeah.
it's frightening. But I feel like unfortunately we've created this cycle in America where we're almost you know uh, allowing children to just think for themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been telling my wife for months now. I don't think college. I think 20 years from now, I think we're going to see a big pushback. I think a lot of parents are going to start saying, "Wait a minute, should I really send my kid to college? A, B, when he or she may have no idea what he or she wants to do. There's C, no direction. There's D, a very liberal, borderline socialist environment. And
Yes.
lastly, why do I want to put my child $100,000 in debt when, again, I mean, you, Steve, as an example, you could give your child your business and
Hmm.
he's set if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many alternatives these days than to just, getting a 4-year degree. I think everybody's just so used to it. And that's like, well, that's what we do. So just go and do it. And it's like, hey, I earn the right to have, a couple $100,000 in student loan debt. And oh, hey, I'm going to be paying it off for the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah,
That's just our right now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but I think everybody's just kind of accepted that because that's been the status quo, and a lot of corporations require those 4-year degrees, and so it kind of forces people to do that. But I just want people to know there's a lot of other opportunities out there, a lot of other alternatives, not even from software engineering or IT, just being an entrepreneur. There's a lot of options available. Apprenticeships are really starting to come back. I know in some of the trades, right? They're really pushing for those too, and that's really important. I think honestly, apprenticeships should be making, and they need to be making a comeback
Yeah.
to kind of battle against the rising education costs. But also, an apprenticeship, you can get somebody up to speed a lot more quickly than going through university and learning all the theory. It's a balance. You need the theory, but you also need the hands-on and the practical approach from that, right? You know,
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
when we were kids and we learned to walk, we fell many times. We need to embrace failure and
Mhm.
not be so afraid to fail.
Yep.
And I think that's another problem that people face these days is they're afraid to fail, you
Mhm.
know?
No, you're absolutely right. People forget the people that have had the most success on this planet are the biggest failures we've ever seen.
Yes.
And and
Yes.
and that sounds weird to people because we're taught largely by the failings of public school that failure is a bad thing. No,
Yep.
people hear me. Failure is a great thing. It teaches you so much more than success ever will. It literally breaks and rewires your mind initially painful, but at longevity, it's phenomenal. I mean, you think about like Michael Jordan as an example. Someone like him. Someone commented about all his championships and all of his points and his stats, and he's like, "Yeah, but you're not taking into account how many times I missed the shot, how many times I
Right.
failed, how
Exactly.
many times I got hurt, how many times the team leaned on me and I failed." Or Abraham Lincoln. He was. I think he ran for office 8 different times, and he only won one time. He was a
Mhm.
he was a lone congressman, did lost re-election, and then somehow became president of the United States with half the country wanting to literally kill him. And it's just, I mean, people again, I mean, Steve Jobs, I mean, I'm not even going to quote Bill Gates because he's a complete socialist nutcase, but I mean, you get my point though. It's just people need to start embracing failure and you start teaching that again, and that's why again, your things like what you do is so important.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! But anyway, so let's focus more so towards just shift it here a little bit. So why do you think, and again, it's something I've been complaining about, from educational standards, I mean, the Republicans and conservatives have completely, we we didn't lose the battle on education. We just gave up. We just walked away. You know,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
fast forward from when Jimmy Carter created the unconstitutional Department of Education back in the 70s. Um, you know, why is it conservatives are just now, and you could even easily say that like him or hate him, President Trump did awaken the Republicans to being like, we need to get better with alternative media, we need to get better with technology, we need to get better with apps, with all this stuff. And to his credit, I think he has really helped us wake up to that a little bit. But Steve, in your experiences, why are conservatives Christians? Why are we so cowardly when it comes to technology and innovation in this capacity? Because when it comes to big oil and big construction, we're the kings of that. But when it comes to new age thing,
Mhm.
we don't like it. So what's your thoughts on that?
I just think generally we're just slow to react, and we're not necessarily eager to move forward, right? Especially with technology. I mean, hey, I've been doing technology for a very long time, and I still hate it. Sometimes I wish I didn't have a smartphone, and would like to go back to flip phone, or at least I try to make an effort once a year to just shut all my devices off for a week or two and just kind of
Mm,
get off the grid. But I just think we're just slower to react. But it definitely is important for us though to kind of get ahead, not only catch up, but to get ahead of the curve and
mhm.
be more forward thinking and leverage and utilize these tools that have been available for a long time to get the message out.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
the,
that's. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that the liberals have and progressive have been great at that. They do a phenomenal job with technology and leveraging it and targeting the younger generation. And I think we need to do the same and do it better.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I have Getter, I have Truth Social. Getter's made a lot of great strides in their software development of their app. It's pretty good. Truth Social. I hate to say it, it's lagging behind a little bit. I mean, they're trying really, really hard, but it's still not Twitter. It's still not Instagram. It's still not Facebook.
Well,
Sad.
and I have not used that platform, so I can't talk. But just from sounding it, I mean, that takes a while to build.
Yeah,
It's not an overnight success. I mean, it's a very complex system. And so again, I'm glad they started sooner rather than later, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
not having
Well,
it done at all. But
yeah.
it does take a lot of work and a lot of time to get it right.
Well, 100%. I mean, now, human beings, voters, Americans, we tend to have a short memory. And
Mhm.
and
Yes.
when you said that, Steve, I remember back when I was in high school and Facebook was this brand new thing, and comparatively till now, you're right. Back then, 2007, 2008, Facebook was awful. It was it was terrible, and I mean, comparatively
Yes.
to today. But or even I remember MySpace.
Oh yes, I remember, remember MySpace. Yes.
So there's always that battle, but no, I mean you're right. I mean I think I'm curious to see how Getter and Truth Social and even Parler has gotten better too, has developed nicely. But I'm curious to see how they will be in 5 years from now. And but again, Twitter is I'm happy that Elon Musk, in my opinion, I think he's probably ever since the passing of Steve Jobs, I think Elon is probably in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if you know somebody better, I think he's probably one of the more innovative. How do I want to phrase this? I don't think Elon Musk is a tech genius. I think he is a an innovative genius.
Mhm.
So I mean, and I'm hard pressed to see anybody else that's really out there doing what he is. I mean, let's be honest. He literally challenged NASA. He's like, look, NASA, you guys can spend 200 billion dollars trying to go to Mars. I can do it for 80 million.
Right. Well, he just challenged Apple yesterday because Apple, I think, they're having a spat over the $8 a month subscription, and Apple charges a 33%, cost on top of that. So there was a spat over that, and I think Elon said, they were just going to build their own phone or something like that. So
Yeah. Well, actually, it said so. This was just breaking about 15, 20 minutes ago. It said, I'm sorry, 46 minutes ago. Tim Cook was. This is Elon Musk talking. Tim was clear that Apple never considered doing this. So either two things. That means two things in the PR world. Everybody. Either Tim Cook meant to do it, he got embarrassed and he backed down, or it was just speculation caused by some liberal to freak out over Apple and Twitter's relationship. So
well, and Elon just tweeted maybe an hour ago that he's at Apple headquarters with Tim Cook walking outside. So,
yeah.
and it was a positive tweet from Elon about Apple or thanking, Tim Cook. So
Oh, that's
uh,
nice.
I'm sure, who knows what they were talking about. I'm sure in the
Yeah.
coming days we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm sure Elon probably looked over to Tim Cook. He's like, "You better watch her. I'll buy I'll buy Apple too."
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see the direction that Elon takes Twitter. So
Yeah, I really appreciate what he's done. I mean, he's I think he said there was like some 40,000 closed accounts. I mean, I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, this is just awful, just terrible, terrible, terrible. But and again, and back to our conversation though, that's exactly what they want to do is they want to completely control information, and they've known this for a long time. And again, back to your comment, conservatives have to wake up, and I'm hoping we shift from owning all the oil rights and railroad rights to start, because I mean, and that's the funny thing is conservatives have the money, Republicans have the money. It's just we're not typically drawn to the tech industry. And I think that's a massive, massive mistake because, as you will probably agree, the future is information and how we can buy that information.
It is. Just always remember your toothbrush runs on software. So it's everywhere. Technology is everywhere. You cannot escape it.
Oh, that's awesome. So, lastly here before I let you go, I have, tech genius, tech entrepreneur, Steve Warren here with CodeFlip Academy, who's really promoting this mentality of, again, apprenticeships first. Let's push back respectfully and lovingly against public education. We're not against it. We're just saying there's definite alternatives for our children's future. It shouldn't just be a one fixed mindset of whatever government tells us to think and believe. That is not what we want. And Steve, with again CodeFlip Academy, he's offering an environment where children can actually, and adults, if they want a career path change, if they want to delve into soft skills, want to delve into software development, if they want to be at the forefront of technology, Steve's offering a solution for that for, again, half the cost, maybe a third the cost of what colleges are paying. So, I mean, Steve, what else do you got before I let you go?
That's all I've got. But yeah, to find out more information, you can head to codeflip.academy and view our website.
Heck yeah, absolutely. Steve, thank you again. I really appreciate it. And thank you all. And don't forget to subscribe to Veterans for America First, Veterans for Trump on our YouTube page and Facebook page. We have our audience is growing rapidly. We're getting close to over 1.1 million. So thank you again, everybody, and God bless.